Okay, you are being recorded.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our September 14th Inland Wetlands and Watercourses Agency meeting. It's 7:01. I'm calling to order the meeting, and I would like to start off by just reminding everyone that in the course of the meeting, when you would like to speak, get my attention, ask the chairman if you could have a word, and then state your name, identify yourself before you start asking questions or whatever. Okay, and the meeting is being recorded, so I want to thank everybody for on. We'll start off by having a roll call of members present.
Bill Rowinski.
Marlo
Paisley.
Butts.
Stuart Paisley.
And Mark Parker, Chair, is present. And just for the record, I know that Marla and Stuart began speaking at the same time, so I recognize that Marla Butts' member is present and Stuart Paisley is present tonight. Members absent. Victor Peabody is not here tonight. Tina, is Victor still a member? He hasn't resigned, has he?
He has not resigned, and I have been
Okay.
sending him the packets.
Okay, very good. Okay, moving forward, action on minutes of the previous meeting. Those of you that I hope everyone has received their packet. And the minutes of the August 3rd meeting was in there. If you could all just, if you haven't taken a look at it already, take a quick look at it and see if everything is in order to your reading.
Bill
Marlo
Rowinski.
Butts speaking. I found no changes.
Okay, Bill, go ahead. You go first.
I didn't find anything that needed to be changed.
Okay, Marla, what did you have anything?
No, I did not.
Okay,
Looks okay.
I'm good with it as well.
okay. I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes as printed.
Bill Rowinski,
So
motion.
moved.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to accept the minutes as printed. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The chair recognizes that all members voted in the affirmative, so the minutes are accepted. Thank you. Okay. Old business. Application 07-20-16, Jeffrey Driscoll, 89 East Quasset Road, rebuild 40-foot wall on the waterfront. I see that Jeff has logged on. I saw his video feed, so.
Yeah, how you doing,
Jeff,
Mark?
good, Jeff. Do you have anything more that you wanted to present, or do any of the members have any further questions for Jeff on his application?
Yeah, Mark, I don't
Question.
have anything else to present.
Okay.
Question mark. Or for Tina,
Yeah.
actually. The Zoom documents were posted on the website. Which documents did this refer to on the website? Because they're separate files.
You're muted, Tina.
See one.
Okay, I'm sorry. Could you repeat your question? Because I have Sig Swanberg on my cell phone, so sorry, there was some interference. Could you repeat your question, please?
What file was that on the Zoom posting that was up there? Because the stuff that you sent us is pretty small. in the mail, the stuff you sent us in the mail. I think I found it. All right.
Should all be posted online, everything. Did you get your packet?
Yes, I did, but this one had photocopies that were tiny. You know,
Oh, I
they were
see.
like a third of the page in size. So I was just trying to look at it because I couldn't read it. What was said, like the letter of July 23rd. It was too blurry. I couldn't read what the letter said from Max Sons Construction.
Okay.
Maybe you could read that to us.
Sure, I can. Says, we hereby propose to furnish all the materials and perform all the labor necessary for the completion of the following. Demo existing wall, check that footing is sufficient, if not fixed, see plans. 3, rebuild wall with existing stone. Any extra stone seated will be same like stone native to area. 4, wall will be approximately 40 feet long, 2 feet tall, 16 inches wide at top. Refer to plan. 5, work will be done when water level is dropped and weather permits. And then access to wall on left side of house with permission to drive on grass. All material is guaranteed to be as specified. The above work is to be performed in accordance with the on-site specifications was talked about with Jeff for above work and will be completed in a substantial workmanlike manner for the sum of, can't read the number, upon
Whatever.
startup of a job, check for, okay, and then it just talks about the financial part of it.
So Marla Butt speaking. So the diagram that he's referring to is on the next page of the handout.
Yes,
And just for the, Stuart Peasley saying, just for the record, that's a section view, not a plan view.
This is Bill Rowinski. There's also a second page to that letter. You flip over in the back of that section view. That's the second page. Mostly disclosures.
right.
There's a plan view?
No, the section view. There's
Yeah.
in the back,
We don't-
in the back of it is a second page of that proposal letter.
Oh, okay. But there's no plan view, right?
Not that I've seen.
Tina, did we get the plan view last month?
Yes. This is all
Yeah.
from last month.
I thought it was.
Is there a plan view?
Give me 1 second. Yeah, it's the same thing that you have. It's just this document here. This is the only plan that I have. Is that what you have in your packet?
Yeah, that's a section.
Yeah, there were a number of pictures that were submitted that show, I'm not sure what a plan view is, but it might show the details of what you're asking for.
A plan view is looking down a section is looking through, like if you
Oh.
slice a loaf of bread, that you're looking through the loaf of bread.
Okay,
Right.
The plan is looking down on it.
A plan view would show your property boundaries, show your house, show the edge of the water, where the wall was that you were going to be replacing, where the dock, in relation to the dock, any other features that are relevant to the replacement of the wall.
okay, it's not really being replaced, it's just being in the same position it is now, being, the rocks are being restacked so that they don't fall into the water.
So that, the footing is not there, that's new?
No, the footing is there,
Oh, it is, okay.
yeah.
You
So
didn't
is
ask
the
for any
3/4 inch
additional,
stone behind it,
sorry.
is the 3/4 inch stone behind the wall new?
Yes, that will be new.
And that's because you felt you needed to have better drainage behind it?
Right, exactly.
Typically, we would ask for a plan view, but you're stating that you're only doing 40 feet of rebuilding the existing wall at its existing location, and that you're just adding drainage behind when you go to rebuild it, and you're going to do it when the water is down, so you're not doing any work in the water itself. So
Right.
when do they start the drawdown?
Right after Columbus Day, they begin lowering the water level, and it usually takes a good week to 2 weeks before it recedes enough to do the work.
So you're looking to start by the beginning of November, correct?
Right, yep.
Well, if the commission felt it needed to have a plan view, we have enough time to get that plan view in for the next meeting, because he's not going to be able to start the work until sometime after Columbus Day. When's our next meeting? After
Next
Columbus
meeting
Day?
will be,
Before Columbus Day?
yeah, October 5th.
Okay. So we have time, so he has time that he could provide a plan view, and we could still approve it with time for him to be able to get the work done in a timely fashion.
A plan view and
So-
perhaps a locus map, a larger
That would
map.
be helpful.
Yeah. So like a USGS topo map of the lake and a circle around the property, where he's doing the work.
Would you explain that last map to me again?
Yeah, topographical maps from the USGS. You can get a section of that quad. Is it Bunky Lake you're on? Or Quasset Lake, whatever lake that is.
Quasset Lake, right.
Yeah. So you'd get a topographical map of Quasset Lake, and and it shows the roads that go around the lake, and so you would put a circle around your property, so that we can see where on the lake the work is going to be done.
Could also use Google Maps.
Yeah, you could do a Google Map call and highlight it.
Well, the wall already exists, and it's, both edges of the 40 feet are not even near my property lines.
Yep.
Are you sure all this is needed for the approval?
Are you in need of the approval before October 5th?
The contractor is waiting to hear that I have written approval from the committee before he blocks me in for time as a customer. Otherwise, other people get ahead of the line.
This is Stuart Peasley. Maybe we could just issue a conditional approval.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
Yeah, we could make a motion to conditionally approve, the permit, that provided that Mr. Driscoll submits a plan drawing, an above looking down on the project, and a locus map. And as long as that is sent in and received by our wetlands agent before the next meeting, he can, we're making that condition. As long as he does that, then he can tell his contractor, we're a go.
That would be very helpful.
So what I can do is I can move that application 07-20-16 be approved on the conditions that a plan view drawing be submitted along with a locus map showing the location of the property on the lake prior to the initiation of any construction be submitted to the wetlands agent for the files.
Second the motion.
That's my motion.
Stuart Peasley, I second.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts and seconded by Stuart Peasley to accept and approve the permit application with condition that he send in a plan map and a locus map of the project to the wetlands agent before engaging, or before, what's the word I'm trying to think of?
Initiating construction.
Here we go, initiating construction and repair. Yep. Any further discussion? I will just say that I would agree with the motion, but that I can tell by looking at the photographs that the photographs are almost a representation of a plan map. You're you're above the water and you're looking down at it. So I feel comfortable that the work will be done within the boundaries of his property. So I'll just comment that,
May I follow up on that, Mark?
Yeah, go ahead, Stuart.
Stuart Peasley. Just that I think that it's good to make even if the drawing is not as professional as we might expect, at least if we have a drawing that has a scale to it, then we can measure. But when we take a photograph, if we're working from photographs, we can't measure.
Yep.
Photographs can't be scaled.
Very good point.
That's my only comment.
Yep. Thank you.
I have a question about the plan view and the locus map. Should there be some sort of a scale of distance on there?
Yeah, go ahead, Stuart. Would you like to?
My thoughts are that if there isn't a scale available, or if you use a photograph, that you can apply distances. You can say, well, this is 40 feet, but it's not to scale. So,
Right.
so that as a matter of record, when anyone in the future is going to look at that drawing, they have a reference point rather than just guesswork. So if we say that, another way to look at it is if you say that you've got something that can be used as a benchmark and you put that on the drawing as a reference point. So
Okay.
the 40 foot is a dimension on a photograph, but you know that the dock next to that 40 foot is 10 foot or 6 foot wide. That way there, we can take that 6 foot and use it as an increment to measure other distances.
Okay, I understand.
Bill Rowinski, just a suggestion. Do you have, Mr. Driscoll, do you have a survey map for that property?
I don't. I mean, it's probably at town hall, but I don't have a copy of anything.
Okay, because you probably could use that and mark it up if you did have that.
Okay. I think I can get what you're looking for from Google Maps, if
Yeah.
that would be acceptable. But I can make sure that something on the map or the photograph shows something of dimension. You know, something you can point at that says, okay, that's 50 feet or 20 feet or 4 feet. I can figure out something.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, so the motion on the floor is that we approve with the conditions this permit application. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. So moved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Jeff. Thank
Yep.
you. Yep. Get those things sent in to Tina, and then you can let your contractor know that he can start
Okay.
work after they're received.
Good. I'll have them in this week. Thank you.
Yep.
you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Agenda. Next item of business, under new business, we have application 11-19-22M, Olszewski, Peter, and Maureen, 674 Route 198, modification of use permitted as of right. So this is a previously approved permitted use as of right, but there's a modification. Tina, you want to?
Question. I
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead, Marla.
question.
Yeah.
When, at what meeting was this use permitted as of right approved? I couldn't find it.
November.
Okay.
November 2019. It didn't include,
Thank you.
you were not there, Marla. It did not include the road. The applicant, Sig Swanberg, is on the phone here, and he swears that at that meeting, the road was discussed. However, it was not on the agenda, nor did it come up in the minutes. But he believes that the road that connects the rear property of the Olszewskis was included in this use permitted as of right. And we thought, you know, based on a complaint that I received, I actually have a couple of letters that did not make the packet from people that live in that area. And they're concerned about the potential disruption to the wetlands for the adjoining properties in the area. So I actually visited the site and went out there and saw the road that went in there, and I thought it looked fine, but you know, I listened to the audio to see if it was mentioned. I did not recall that that was part of the approval. So that is the reason that I put it back on the agenda, so Mr. Swanberg could explain what was done and that you could discuss it for the record and amend or add to the approval or modify it however you see fit. I just felt it was important to get him back.
So I called up the minutes from the website. I'm on another computer, and I called up the November minutes, and I'm getting November 5th, 2018, not November of 2019. So I cannot find the November 2019 minutes on the,
Okay.
yeah. If you go to the town's webpage and look up minutes for Inland Wetlands Commission under 2019, and you call up Inland Wetlands minutes for, and it says November 5th, 2019, it comes up as 2018. So I don't know where the November 2019 minutes are.
Does it say November 18th, 2019?
No,
November
No,
8,
says-
November 18? No? Okay.
Says November 5th, 2018,
Are
Huh.
you in the right
when I
website?
called it up.
Marla, I'm gonna send them over to you right now because they're coming up on the new website. I don't know if they're not in the right website. They are here. So let me send them over to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, in my packet that I received in the mail, part of this package, Tina, you included a copy of page 2 of 4. On the bottom, the caption says IWWA regular meeting, November 18, 2019.
Yes.
And,
I have it, yep.
yep.
All right, I just sent them to you.
And
Got it.
because
I'll
I
bring it
can
up.
only see page 2, I mean, it was item number D, or letter D, but I don't know if that was under new business or old business or.
All right, hold on. Let me just.
Yeah.
This is Bill Rowinski. Since
Go
I
ahead,
made,
Bill.
since I made the motion, I don't recall any approval for the road and restore the property for the hayfield for agricultural purposes after the demolition of the barn was the only thing that I recall approving.
Yeah.
This is Stuart Peasley, and I'm of the same mind. I don't recall any conversation about a road. I probably would not have voted for this to pass.
Just as a, Marla Butt speaking, just as a point of information, under uses permitted as of right, non-regulated uses, the following operations and uses shall be permitted in the wetlands of watercourses as of right. And paragraph A starts with grazing, farming, nurseries, etc. It says, goes on to say, the provisions of this subdivision shall not be construed to include road construction or the erection of buildings not directly related to the farming operation. So I know that there has been discussions in the past about whether the term not directly related to the farming operation applies just to the erection of buildings, or does it include road construction? My recollection is on the trainings that I've seen at the CACUIC annual meetings, that the decision has come back that road construction, that's not allowed at all, and that the erection of buildings is modified to not directly related to the farming operation. So if that were the case, then you couldn't modify the approval to include this road construction. It would have to come in as an application.
But we've not done it that way in the past. We've had other people come in and it was considered an agricultural use.
But one
So
thing,
we're changing the procedures now.
let
I
me
think-
say, may I chime in on that?
Go ahead, Stuart.
You can't just say what's applicable over here or has been done in the past is the same throughout. You have to take each case uniquely. Is that right? Am I correct in that?
It's the interpretation of that section. And
Each case is unique.
correct.
Okay, this is,
I
don't
don't
think-
get to decide, so it's not up to me. I don't get to decide whether it's a use permitted as of right, so.
I don't think we could render a decision on this until we check what the legal decisions have been on this kind of case, because my recollection is there is a court case dealing with this that talks about how the restriction on essential to the farming operation applies, where it applies to. And my recollection is that it does not apply to road construction, but I'm going to have to do research on that in order to come back with an answer. So my advice would be that we table this until the next meeting, and in the meantime, no further work occur on the road until we get a better understanding of what the law says and what the courts have said about the law.
Yep.
Because we
I
all
think the
have
work
been
is
making
done.
decisions. But still, you could come in with an after-the-fact permit because you don't know what the hydrology is. You don't know what whether there needs to be cross culverts, what size cross culverts, how much wetlands were filled. I mean, I saw the pictures that were here, and that's not a simple farm road. That's quite a bit of a roadbed. And the question is was that roadbed placed on deep organics or are they shallow organics? Is that road going to sink over time, or was there a geotextile, a road stabilization geotextile put underneath it so it floats it? There's a lot of things I don't know about this road. So, and it's a lot more intensive than what I think was originally intended in a farming exemption.
So Sig Swanberg is on the phone. Do you have any questions of him that he could answer for you? Or do you want him to complete a full
Yeah,
application?
maybe he could explain if there's any, is there any further work that he wants to do on the road?
Sig? Is there any further work that you want to do on the road? Or did you complete the work and did you put in culverts in there? Replace?
Yes, we replaced. We replaced it with a plastic pipe. We didn't change any grades. That road existed. It's bordered by a wall on each side. We did no work outside of that path from way back many years. It's nothing new that we did. We fixed it so that Peter can get through with his farm equipment to take the hay off of that field without going on to the main road.
So that was a pre-existing cart path?
It was just to improve, yes, a former cart path, which all of that forest is full of. All of Yale Forest borders this land, and there's many of these cart paths that go to different fields that are existing, which have grown up into small 6 to 8 inch diameter small trees and brush. And I just cleaned the brush and stuff off that cart path and put some gravel on it, replaced that cross culvert so it didn't interrupt the flow of the swamp that goes through there.
I have a couple of questions for him. How many cubic yards of material were placed on the roadbed?
What was, say again?
How many cubic yards of material were placed on the roadbed?
Approximately 5, 12, 60, somewhere between 60 and 80.
How
But
large is the
that
cross
was-
culvert that you placed?
What size was it?
How large is the cross culvert?
Along?
Large
Size, diameter?
It
size.
was 20 feet. The cross culvert is 20 feet long,
And the diameter,
What is the,
18 inches.
18 inches.
do you know what the contributing drainage area is to that cross culvert?
I don't know the specific, but along the same water level underneath Route 198, the state has an 18-inch culvert under the state road because that water supply, I'll call it, comes from back of a couple of new houses that are on the east side of 198. And that culvert underneath 198 has been there since that road was built.
Mark,
Yes, go ahead, Marla.
I think we need to table this until we can find out what the interpretation is, because I'm a little leery about road construction
Right.
under the guise of farming. And this may be a farming application. This may in fact, be just for farming, but it might not be covered. And rather than have people have the misconception that road construction, as long as they claimed they were doing a farming activity, which could happen down the road, I'd like to have this clarified before we render a decision on this request.
Bill Rowinski.
May I make a statement? Yeah, the road was not constructed, it was repaired. So that he can get through with his paying equipment.
May I make a observation about that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that's a question of interpretation, and that will need a lot of review. And I would suggest this is a textbook case where I would invite all the members of the board to actually visit the site and see the conditions now and look at photographs preceding any work. There's a lot going on.
Bill Rowinski, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah, just an opinion from Attorney Janet Brooks at the last Kakiwick conference is that just because a project is agricultural or timber harvest or something like that does not mean that every part of the project can be considered agricultural. That there might be items that have to be taken separately, such as in this case, perhaps the road as a separate permit.
Question to Bill.
Yeah.
Do you recall if she was basing that on litigation, court cases?
I don't recall that.
I move that this request be tabled till next meeting with the expectation that additional information regarding court decisions be determined and provided.
Bill Rowinski, I second it.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to table this revision, modification of the old use as of right, pending some further investigation. Any further discussion? I would just like to interject that I would like to see the applicant, I would like to know if the Olszewskis have a farm, is this an active farming operation, or are they planning to start a farm? And, I'd like to know the validity of the hay, of it really being a hay field, and that they will be harvesting hay from that, an agricultural commodity. So, maybe we can find out a little bit about that.
Bill Rowinski again.
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Previous to the meeting where I made that motion to approve it, I did visit the site, and I believe there were goats being raised just across the wall from where the barn was taken down.
That's a
That's what I based my opinion on.
Okay.
So interjecting Stuart Peasley here, that is a different property, different owner.
Okay.
And they're just, it's a 1.5 acre lot, I think, with 2 or 3 goats for home use.
Okay.
I think, if I may make a comment, as I said before, there's a lot of moving parts here. You know, if you saw the field report that I put together, there's a lot of issues in there that I think need to be addressed. I don't know if this is the right forum or venue to do that, but in this case, you know, there's a lot that we don't know. And it has to do with what was presented in the application, how that application was processed, and when that permit was finally obtained. We need to know more about the timeline. I think there's just a host of questions here.
It wasn't a permit, though. It was a use permitted as of right. But if you're requiring that he, you know, submit a permit, then application, that could be.
Well, I think that with
Yep.
regard to it just being a hayfield, that's true. But if
Right.
we're talking about a road, that's another story.
Which,
And when the work started in relation to the issuance of a permit as of right.
okay, Sig asked to say something and respond. Go ahead, Sig.
This path to that property is not from any other property that is not owned.
Can anybody else? I can't hear.
Tina,
Can't hear him.
can you tell us what he said? Because we couldn't hear it.
Could you repeat it? Because it kind of went out.
That
That cart path is not accessible, is what he's saying, to any other part,
correct,
right?
because
Because they own the property to all other directions from it.
So that cart path only goes to that hayfield. It doesn't go to any other parts of the property or, okay.
Right, it only goes to the hayfield. Yes,
goes between the hayfield that we cleared and made there to the hayfield that has existed from back when Rich owned it. That's not accessible in any other way. The Yale Forest is a ways away from it. And of course, that's state land.
May I respond?
Go ahead, Stuart Peasley.
Yeah, I think that, you know, again, this is an example of where we need accurate mapping, delineations, hydrological analysis. We need to know water courses. We're just talking on a Zoom meeting where everything is already pretty vague. And we just need to know more information. This is a complicated little undertaking. And I don't think that we can underestimate by, you know, just rushing it through.
Well, I can provide a plan that has all the properties in that area. Did I show that to you, Dana? That big plan?
yeah,
It
I mean,
has
the information.
walls.
Yeah, we did have some documentation from the original application, so, but it
But
was,
may
it wasn't
may I-
very good.
May I
Was-
say, yeah, those were photographs without accurate delineations or
Right.
measurement. We can't use photographs for this kind of this scale of an operation. You know, this operation went on. I don't know when it started. I know the permit was issued after it started, and it's gone on for 6 weeks. There's been 60 to 80 truckloads of material removed, not just small trucks, triaxle loads. There's been, you know, I don't know, 20 loads of gravel brought in. This is not a small operation.
Marla, question. So we can move, I would suggest we can move forward with tabling, but should we also request the applicant submit a few things to us so that we can, when we come back next month with what we found out from, from our search of, prior situations, we can also, look at some additional information, for example, the hydrology stuff, and what do you think?
I think that should be done.
Yeah.
In actuality, I feel uncomfortable making a major modification to a use permitted as of right. I would rather ask for another request to come in because it wasn't seemingly mentioned on the paperwork for the original one. I didn't see any reference to the road on the minutes from November that Tina sent to me. And unless you listen to the tape,
I did.
you wouldn't know. You did?
Mhm. I heard nothing.
And what did it say?
I mean, Sig
Okay.
spoke very softly, but I did not hear anything about the road, but he claims there was discussion about it, but I just didn't hear it.
So I would suggest that perhaps in the interim, he could submit a new request just for the road so that it could be considered, and that will give us time to be able to figure out, exactly what the level of detail is regarding this law. And he can submit a drawing to show where the road is. He's already said to us what the volume of material that he placed and the size of the culvert. He should put that in writing for the request so he wouldn't be requesting to amend the old one. The old one stands, and then he would apply for a new one for the road. Since it was not referenced at all in the original, we don't have any details on it. I think it's appropriate that he submit a new request. And in the meantime, we can do the research to figure out what the law says and what the courts have said about that.
Okay.
So I still would table this at this time. But if he submits a new request with the information that it needs to identify what the amount is, where it is, give us a map showing us where it is in location, where his property boundaries are, then we can just say, well, we will forget the request to modify, because I don't think, I would have to say at this point in time, I'd have to move to deny it if I was working off the paperwork that I had right now. Because I'm not even sure it's appropriate to modify the original request. Since it was never referenced in, nobody can find anything that specifically references it. This is a new issue.
Okay.
So my motion still stands.
Yep. So all those in favor of tabling, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. So this has been tabled, and Tina, if you would let, Mr. Swanberg know, that we need some maps and measurements and sizes and, all that written out. Okay. Okay, agenda. Application, oh, is that a UP? UP 08-20-18. Teresa Mead, 180 Converse Road, timber harvest. Okay, we have a timber harvest.
Question, what does UP stand for?
She's on the phone. Yeah, good question. UP.
Sorry about that. I was just talking to Sig. So I'm sorry,
Understood.
what was the question you had for me?
What does UP before the application number stand for?
We're just trying to identify, you know, the different timber harvest, use permitted as of right.
Okay. Use permitted 08-20-18.
I think it might be important.
Okay.
Is the applicant here, Tina?
He's on the phone. He's called in under Arthur Kruger, I believe. Is that correct? He should be there unless he's muted.
It does not show him as you muted.
All right, let me try to call him. It just happens to be in my cell phone. Okay.
Yeah, I see Arthur Kruger and a little
Hi,
phone.
are you on the meeting with us?
Yeah, I'm trying to be.
All right, well, you're on speakerphone, you're on my phone, so they're
Yeah, I see
asking,
that.
so you might want to,
And Crystal, unmute him.
What's that?
can you hear me?
Yeah.
You might want to sign off of the Zoom meeting because there's a double voice. It's a, yeah,
Yes. All right. We'll work on that. Yeah.
okay. All right, here you go. So he's on my phone if you have questions for him.
I see a locust map, so that's good. I see a closer map showing where the stone walls are and the different planned skid roads, existing road. I see a description that they're going to use Massachusetts best management practices, because it looks like the property is right up there on the Massachusetts line. Any of the other commission members or agency members have any questions?
Yes. Marla Butt speaking.
Marla?
How many wetlands crossings are there? I see one. Is there more than one?
You said two.
It looks like the existing road just cuts through the bottom portion of the upper wetland. Right? And in the lower property, there's clearly one that goes right through the planned skid road.
How will the wetlands be crossed? Are you planning to do any upgrades to get the equipment across the road? I mean, across the wetlands?
Well, the road is probably the best way to get in and out of here.
I can't hear him, Tina.
My ability. Well, as I was coming down, I was kind
You're-
of northerly on the timber, when the property is started on the south side. I had a big wetland there, but I put it's at the north point is the wetland cross, which is marked as WC. Because I didn't know how to stop the road, but there's an old road bed there, and I'll probably be using more of that than the other crossing.
So there's an old road bed there that he's going to be using.
Okay.
So, I may have to pull or something like that, pull material. I'm going to try to maintain the existing structure as it exists, but to add some, hiring and weather conditions going to be dependent on the harvest.
Tina, I can't hear him.
Well, I don't really know how to deal with this here, but he said he was going to use the dry season to get in there. I mean, it seems, yeah, dry, frozen time frame to get in there. So
And who is doing the timber harvesting?
they haven't hired a harvester yet.
Who was flagging the timber to be harvested?
He was.
Is he a forest practitioner or a harvester himself? Licensed in Connecticut?
He used to be a licensed forester until he didn't get enough credits.
Then that explains why we're getting such a good design.
He said thank you.
How long ago did you lose your certificate?
He worked with you in Thompson, and it's been maybe 3 or 4 years ago, he thought.
Okay. Last question. Where would we find a copy of the Massachusetts Best Management Practices book referenced in your application? Is there a website?
He said he can have one dropped off to me if needed.
Okay. Okay, that would be useful for the file because
Okay. That
if
would be
there's a problem and you need to be able to go back to whatever best management practices he said he was going to apply, use, then you'd want that book in your file.
okay. No problem, he said.
Well, this looks pretty standard for other applications that we receive for timber harvest. And while I don't recall working with Mr. Mead 3 to 4 years ago, it appears as though he has an understanding of what he's doing based upon the drawings that he submitted, which are similar to other ones that we've received for timber harvest. So I would move that we approve this request UP08-20-18 as a use permitted as of right for timber harvest. On the
Second.
condition that he supply a copy of the Massachusetts Best Management Practices book referenced in his application.
Bill Verwinski, second.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Lewinsky, to that the agency approves that this is a use permitted as of right for timber harvest. Any further, with the condition that the Massachusetts Best Management Practices be submitted to our wetlands agent office. Any further discussion?
I have a question. It would be the best time to get a hold of Tina in person.
Well, I can talk to you about that tomorrow. We'll set up an appointment to get together.
All right, very good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Thank you, everyone. Okay, Tina, so you'll be in touch with him tomorrow.
Yes, thank you very much. I'll be in touch.
Good.
All right.
Yep, yep,
Bye.
okay.
Okay. Now, under new business, under item C, application 08-20-21, John Wipchowski, 179 Laurel Hill Drive, alteration, landscaping, creation of a beach area, a retaining wall repair, and walkway with stairs. Okay. I received in my packet the application and some pictures.
Question,
Go ahead, Bill.
question for either Tina or the applicant. Talks about removing 2 rows of blocks. Does that include the cap course and the course beneath it, or the cap course and 2 courses underneath it?
Good evening. My name's John Wipachowski. I'm owner of 179 Laurel Hill. That wall needs to be rebuilt. It's leaning forward, so whoever installed it prior didn't put any great drainage to it. But if you're looking at, I don't know if the pictures were stapled, but if you look at any one of the 3 pictures, the water line, because the water's low right now, the water line is to that first 4 inches of block. So I'm going to remove those 2 courses and drop the cap course down. So you're going to have about 8 inches of wall, 4 inches above water.
Okay, thank you.
All about speaking. I'm looking at your cross-sectional area. So
Okay.
it looks like you're going to reduce the elevation behind the wall to go up to a second retaining wall that you will have placed so that, is that how you're going to have a beach in between
Yeah,
the 2 retaining walls?
if we start at the deck, we'll say, let's start up there. It'd be a little easier.
Mhm.
And you see the deck is about 2 feet above ground level. Well, I want to, I'm going to remove that deck and drop that to ground level and actually make a, stone patio. And then enclose that porch with a screen. And then I'm going to come down with a couple more steps and create another level area. Come out about another 13 feet, a couple more steps, down to a beach area in between the wall and what you may say the mid-wall.
Okay, John, that was going to be my question. So the steps you referred to is there's like 2 steps right there at the first retaining wall near the stone patio that you're going to make.
Right.
And another 1 step or 2 steps at the middle retaining wall, right?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to write in steps. Okay, good. All right.
And then now, of course, the deck is even. It's like even with the doors that enter the basement.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
I'm gonna have 2 steps into the
Okay, those are the steps you were referring to. Okay, good.
basement. And
But you're not going to put any steps in at the final retaining wall going down to the lake, right?
no,
Yeah,
that'll be. It's like a 4 8-inch step into the water.
yeah, okay.
It'll be showing 4 inches will be underwater.
Oh, Marla Butt speaking. So actually, you're not actually doing any in-water work. All your work is above the water line, correct?
Correct. Correct.
So this actually could class as a wetlands agent approval since there is no in-water work. If he was completely replacing the wall by the water's edge, then it would be work in the water. But if he's not doing any, are you going to be putting in crushed stone? So you're going to be picking up the entire wall and putting it back down on crushed stone by the water's edge?
Yeah, but if necessary, but the chances are, because I'm reducing it by the 2 courses, that what's there is okay. Because if you look at the lateral, it's pretty good. It's just the vertical that pushed over. So, I mean, I think it may work in my favor, though. That 4 inches that's sticking above could be at the right plane that I want to, come off and level the beach at, So I'm hoping I can leave that intact and do all the work behind.
Bill Rowinski, just a comment. You have a new patio with pavers. During a heavy rain, there'll be a lot of sheet flow of water down onto that beach area with potential to wash that into the lake. Is there any provisions for preventing that from happening?
Well, that cap, the sand would only be as high as the cap, if not a little lower. And then probably in the mid wall between, I would put maybe a landscape beds, to catch the runoff, so it's not sheeting off. And the pitches, I'm going to try to have, a standard, less than, no more than a 1/2 inch per foot pitch. I'm trying to keep it pretty level.
I don't really see any problem with this application. It's come in as an individual permit. Yes, Tina?
Yes, the short form
So-
was, but I was not comfortable signing off on it, so you guys looked at it first.
Yeah, because he might be doing work for the footing of the wall and he's not sure yet. It's probably better that he get an individual permit, which would have to come next month because it would only be received this month.
Yes.
And since they're not drawing the water down until later in October, there's time for us to process this as an individual permit. I don't have any problem with it because the work is so minimal next to the water and it's so flat. I'm not real concerned about erosion potential or sedimentation potential.
Okay.
As long as it's done within 1 season, meaning when it was drawn down.
Yeah, that's my
You
intention.
will-
That's my intention, to start as soon as they lower it. That's why I'm in here a little early rather than later. Sometimes, you forget about
How do
the
you
extra.
plan to stabilize the soil that's disturbed once you get your walls in?
Well, I'm gonna put up some silt fence and some of those, that hay bales or that hay rope. I don't know what they call that tube, the hay
The
tube.
wattles,
Yeah,
the
spike
wattles.
spike
They're
'em
called
in.
wattles.
Yep.
So you'll start with the wall next to the water first, and then put up the wattle along the top of the wall, and then continue the rest of the work? Or are you going to do it in a different sequence?
I would start from the wall and work my way out.
Mark, I think we just need to accept this application and then render a decision at next meeting. I move to accept application 08-20-21 for consideration at next month's meeting.
Do I have a
Stuart Peasley is second the motion.
motion has been made by Marla Butt, seconded by Stuart Peasley, to accept for consideration at next month's meeting, application 08-20-21. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The chair recognizes all members voted in the affirmative. So moved. Thank you.
Is there anything I should bring for next meeting, just, or accept the application, I guess?
Marla Butt speaking. I suggest that you just put down what you said, how you're going to do the sequence of construction and the erosion control that you're going to put in place, and just give that in writing to Tina ahead of the meeting so she can put it in the Zoom documents as an attachment to the application.
Okay, thank you very
Yep.
much.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thanks. Okay, bye.
Yep. Moving on to item number D, letter D under new business. Application 09-20-23, Noreen Stellick, 294 Route 198, Phragmite removal in the pond, or from the pond. Do we have the applicant on the line?
Yes, Bruce Willis is here.
Oh, okay. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, how are you? Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am representing Noreen Stellick, the applicant, and the next application after that is a similar application for her brother, Bill. Noreen has a small pond located on her property, which we recently surveyed. It's becoming overgrown with phragmites. I'm not sure about the correct pronunciation. Marla could probably help us with that.
Phragmites.
It's Phragmites, okay.
Yeah.
So if those of you who are familiar with them, they're these reeds that grow on the sides of ponds and wet areas. They're an invasive species. They're becoming quite a problem. They grow quickly and choke out other forms of vegetation and wildlife habitat. And from the reading that I've done, and I've actually had some discussions with Marla about these different ways to try and remove or keep them back. They're very difficult to remove completely, and so this is a new one for me. This is new territory, and I don't know if you folks have had very much experience with people wanting to control the Phragmites, about town. But I've spoken with my client, discussed various remedies. Like I said, done a lot of reading. Sounds like the most successful forms long-term treatment is to cut or remove them, but also to combine it with an herbicide treatment. My client is adamant that she does not want to use herbicides as part of the treatment. And so we've contacted a local contractor, John Donahue Construction out of Hampton, who's done other projects for Miss Stellick. And he would propose to come in with a very small excavating machine and try and remove the Phragmites literally by their roots, by digging them out from around the edges of the pond. With the application, I enclosed a picture of some of the Phragmite growth, which is kind of representative of what's happening there. It's in a wooded area, just 100 feet off the edge of the road. It's visible from the road if you go out and look at it. It is becoming quite overgrown. It's a small pond. It's only about 30 or 40 feet wide by about 80 feet long. So it's not a large water body at all. And I met John Donahue out there, and he indicated that with a small machine that he could access the edge of the pond quite easily from all sides and attempt to pull them out and then dispose of them elsewhere on the property. As I said, this is new for me, and I and the applicant would be open to any guidance or suggestions that you might have as we go forward with this.
Stuart Pisa, I have anecdotal piece of advice, but just looking at the photographs, this is beyond the scale. One thing I've learned and also heard about is that you can suffocate these Phragmites by cutting them below the surface and the surface of the water and sort of starve them. It takes more time and it's labor intensive, but that's one way to address it. This pond looks pretty much overwhelmed by them.
It is pretty overgrown.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, that was a pretty good representation of the worst part of it. There is, another section of the pond that doesn't have very much on it, but I would say probably 60 to 70% of the shoreline has the the reed growth.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's pretty dominant. I've read about people trying to cut them down at water level, but they seem to grow back quite well. It's kind of similar to cutting the grass. You actually promote growth sometimes if you cut your grass, unless you cut it too short. So I read that it is key to cut it at the water line or even below the water line. But I've also heard that it's hard to remove them because as you pull them out, the roots or the underlying stalks and roots of the plants can be pulled free and still remain. And also their seeds also spread when you handle them, so they can also fall and then resprout. So they're a very difficult plant to deal with. So
Marla Buck speaking. I see in the application, it doesn't give any dimensions of the pond, but I went on MapGeo and found the pond and got the topography for it. And it looks like it's 60 feet wide and about 115 feet long, which is quite sizable. And judging from the photographs that you have here, it's pretty well filled in. So I'm not sure that attempting to pull out the Phragmites by the root's going to work, because you're still going to have it regrowing. And then you're going to have the problem of the Phragmites roots now transporting themselves to another location where they could start to grow. More likely, what you would need to do would be to dredge the pond, to remove the accumulated organics from the pond, and then take the material to an area that can be ultimately mowed, spread out and mowed to stop the Phragmites from regrowing. There appears to be no real inlet that I can see to this pond and no real outlet. Is that correct? Just a hole in the ground?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm seeing. It looks like it was a farm pond that was dug out at one time, and the northern and northeastern edges of the pond appear to be sort of a dam that was created by maybe the pond spoils when the pond was originally out for pond purposes, for farm purposes. So correct. There's no inlet or outlet to the pond. Right now, the water levels is very low, and that's probably why my measurements are not the same as yours in looking at the images that, the aerial images that you're looking at. Because when I walked it, I kind of paced along the woods road that's next to it, and the pond, the water level of the pond is very low at this time. So
I'm guessing that when they built the pond, it was one of those embankment ponds that NRCS or Soil Conservation Service used to suggest farmers to build for watering their animals or providing some fire protection, and that it may not have had adequate contributing drainage area. For those ponds that were built on the sides of hills, you were supposed to have, I believe it was 3 acres of drainage area for every acre foot of storage water that you wanted to have. And this doesn't look like it has a ton of drainage area, so they might have made it and it just never held water long enough to, to be an adequate water supply. What do they want to do with the pond after they take the Phragmites out?
Nothing in particular, to my understanding. She's just very unhappy with the way it's become overgrown in the last couple of years with the Phragmites. So when you speak about dredging the pond, how would one go about doing that?
For something like this, it's an embankment pond that has no inlet and no outlet. First thing I would attempt to do is put in a pumping sump and dewater the pond as much as possible to have the organics dry out as much as possible. And then you'd have to excavate it out to an area, either to a sealed truck or to an area that you can dewater the organic materials that are coming out of it, and can contain it so that it doesn't flow off site. It could potentially flow back into the excavation area. Now would be a perfect time to do that kind of thing because the groundwater table is really low, but we're also in hurricane season, and so you could actually have quite a disaster depending on where you put your stockpile of organic material. But that kind of needs to be thought out a little more. I don't see how just taking a small bobcat and pulling out the Phragmites is going to get her anything, because I think the frag is going to come right back.
Okay.
The only way that you can could have, water showing without stuff coming out of it would be to deepen it. But I'm not sure that it has enough watershed to supply it. I'll take a look at some of the older photographs and see if in 2004 whether or not. And I don't have any photographs for 2004. No, not giving me that. And
Yeah.
I don't have 2012.
Well,
So I really don't know if this ever held a lot of water.
I find it hard to believe that it ever did, because my knowledge of the adjacent terrain is that there's not a lot of watershed area to feed that pond. The property that's adjacent with the house and the barn, they have some nice large field area, but it really doesn't all slope towards the pond. And although the field area would be a good place to take the vegetation and spread it out to dry it out, there's a lot of field area behind the buildings where that could be accomplished.
Tina, have you seen this site?
No, I have not.
Any idea on the cubic yardage that they would be removing, the organic material they'd be removing in this proposal?
Well, I could do some quick calculations on that.
It's going to need an individual permit if it's not covered as a non-regulated use conservation of soil and water. And I'm not sure how that would work in this instance. So, I think the best thing for us to do, Mark, is to accept the application and maybe have someone take a look at it. I'm not quite sure whether or not, Phragmites areas aren't typically real valuable from a wildlife standpoint, but I don't know what else is there. It might not be anything, so it might be kind of like a draw as far as the benefit versus the detriment. I'm not sure she's going to get what she wants out of it, but it would be good to know what the cubic yardage is that they would be moving or planning on moving.
What did you say the area you estimated the Stuart Peasley? You estimated the area is 60 by 120?
60 by 115.
Oh, by 115, okay. So that's roughly 7,000 square feet. What dredging would be 2 feet square deep, 2 feet deep?
Yeah, even if you overestimated at 3 feet, I just calculated, you come up with about 800 cubic yards.
Yeah, I would say 5 to 800.
5 to 800 would have been a good, good call.
But so, Marla, would that mean that 5 to 800 has to be relocated, or could be kept on site?
It could be kept on site, but you would want it far enough away where it could be controlled. Meaning,
So,
you don't want to move the
they did
Phragmites to another site.
Right. If they did the dredging with like a clamshell drag line instead of like a bulldozer that picks it up and moves it 60 feet away, would that be possible?
That would normally be, if you were dredging it, that's the way you would do it.
Yeah.
But it's very dry right now, and you could do a different methodology if there's not deep organics in that. If I don't know how deep the organics are in the pond,
Right.
or where the water table actually sits now.
Right.
When you say send somebody out, who do you mean somebody? Marla?
I can't go because I won't be around.
But so it's one of us from the agency?
Yeah, go with Tina to take a look at it.
Yeah, I'd be up for that if you want. I like my field reports.
Yep.
Yeah, and if you folks wouldn't mind, I'd like to be there when you do it, because I'd be interested in finding out your thoughts at that time.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Bruce, this is Mark Parker. Yeah,
Yes,
I'm gonna contact our DEP marsh restoration people and see how they handle the organic waste of the Phragmites projects that we've done at the state level. I know they've used herbicides, I know they've used burning, but I'm a little bit, I'd have to try to learn more about, you know, if the material is going to be removed and then put up in the field, you know, should it be composted? You know, because you want to create, either dry it out, or composting generates a lot of heat, and that would destroy the rhizome validity and the seeds, which is what you want to do. You don't want to, you know, put that on the land somewhere, and then if it finds its way into another wet spot, then it'll just resprout somewhere else. So yeah, we need to do a little more research and see if there's some other, you know, options of, you know, how they handle that, the dredged, you know, the scooped out organic material, which will be, you know, high in organics and high in, you know, Phragmites reeds and seeds and rhizomes. So I'll do that research, and I would just, you know, maybe you could also do a little research on, you know, maybe if we Google Phragmites control, you know, maybe we'll get some other options.
well, I'd be very interested to see what the DEEP's experience and recommendations are. I've done plenty of Googling on my own about
Yeah.
and you get the same thing just about everywhere you look. And, you know, except for using herbicides and combined with burning and cutting, they say it's almost impossible to get, you know, because like you say, the rhizomes and the seeds, between the combination of the two, when you go to pick them up and disturb them, they fall off and they just retransplant themselves, and it's it's the perfect storm for an invasive species.
Right.
Okay. Well, very good. If Stuart and Tina, you know, if you decide when you're going to go out there, let me know. I'll make myself available, and I'd like to tag along if I can.
Thursdays and Fridays are best for me, but
Okay.
we can work something out.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
You know, I'm fine with just a little bit of notice on almost any time. So let's do it on a Thursday or Friday. It doesn't have to be this week, but when you settle on the time, just let me know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, everybody.
Let me.
Got a second application.
Yeah. So
Okay,
do we
another
want to accept this with you know, request for a visit? You know, what are we gonna do? Are we gonna accept it for next month or what? What do you want to do?
I move to accept application 09-20-23 for consideration at next month's meeting.
I second the motion.
Very good. Marla Butts made the motion, seconded by Stuart Peasley, to accept and receive for consideration application 09-20-23 for next month's meeting. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Okay, Bruce, we got a second application with William. Is William Noreen's brother?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
That's a
Well,
family
application
affair.
09-20-24. And from what I see from the pictures, this is a little bit more of an open pond. It isn't in the woods. It's kind of in the north or the west side of a field.
Yes, absolutely correct. His property is located further up on Route 198, about a quarter mile south of its intersection with Route 197. It's on the left-hand side or the west side of the road. Is a large open field on both sides of the pond, adjacent to the pond.
Yep.
The pictures show you that it's a combination of cattails and Phragmites. He's been keeping them down by cutting them. You can see evidence that he's been cutting them down on a yearly basis. But they are, you know, if they were grown to their full height, it would probably look a lot like the other pond, because they're pretty much continuous along the water's edge on both sides of the pond. It's a long, narrow pond. This pond does have an inlet and an outlet. The inlet comes from the northwest and it outlets to the southeast and then crosses Route 198 at a culvert just southeast of the pond. So as I said, this is similar, but quite a bit different.
Yeah, and this pond I can see has some, you know, lily pads. That might be pickerel weed. But yeah, and I know from personal experience from other water bodies, for example, Roseland Lake, there used to be a lot of lily pads, you know, and those pickerel weed type things all around it. And then when the Phragmites took over, it completely choked out and drove those species out. So I know that they did some work at Roseland Lake getting the Phragmites out. I don't know if the lily pads have come back, but this particular little pond looks like it could benefit from, you know, controlling that edge and keep a good population of the lily pads.
Yes, so as I present this, I wonder about, you know, we discussed dredging of the other pond, and, you know, this is a much larger scale pond, and I wonder if drawing it down and dredging it would cause more harm to, you know, the vegetation that you just mentioned that's, you know, beneficial to the pond. Again, I don't have a lot of experience in this arena, so I would yield to, you know, you and Marla, who have some experience and some contacts. Anybody else on
I have a question.
commission?
Where's the nearest intersection to this pond?
Actually, Sherman Road is about 300 or 400 feet to the south of this pond. It goes off to the west. It's between Sherman Road and Route 197 on the westerly side of Route 198.
Still looking for it.
Okay.
So so you're talking about the brothers, right, Bruce?
The brothers' property, correct, now. William Stellick.
Yeah. Okay, so the one I'm confused because the map that I have shows it down on Eastford Road, just, you know, where it combines with 171.
No.
Oh, that's parcel A. And
oh, you're looking at Noreen's.
Oh, okay.
Down near Hawkins Road.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is way up near the intersection of Route 197 and 198.
Okay.
A little bit south of that. Are you finding it, Marla?
No, I'm on the intersection of 198 and I'm heading north, and I got Witches Woods to the east of me, and I'm heading north on Eastford Road, which is Route 198.
You'd go in another mile or two. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta go quite a ways.
It's just south of the Route 197, 198 intersection. And it's on the west side of Route 198.
Okay.
just north
Give me a
of Sher.
moment. My computer.
Yep.
My computer
Yeah, I
doesn't work
apologize.
that
I had made a
fast.
location plan, but it didn't get included in the packet.
What I'm doing is I've been making the last application. I actually did some printable maps from MapGeo and sent them to Tina and to Stuart for the last application. And I'm going to try to do it for this one if I can find it, if I can find the pond.
That was very helpful, Marla. Stuart Peasley, thank you.
Mhm.
So what are you saying? You didn't get the
I'm not-
maps in the packets? You didn't get the
I had
maps?
made a location map. You know, Marla's looking for the location. I had made a location plan, but I
Okay.
did not get it into the packet, so I apologize.
Oh, I thought you were blaming me. Oh, thanks.
No, 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 no,
Ah.
no.
Right.
No, it's my fault. I'm sorry.
So this pond is 280 feet long, and the average width is about 80 feet, 75 feet.
From what I see from the picture, I'm looking like it's just a ring, you know, if it's just, they could just clear out the ring around the pond.
This is more complicated because it's got a large wetland system to the north of it. So you really can't dewater it. If you were going to try to remove the vegetation from it and not doing it through herbicides, you're looking at dredging, and you'd have to have isolated with turbidity curtains for the dredging portion. That's a lot more complicated to remove the vegetation from this pond than the other one. This one has a larger watershed and a large wetland system associated with it to the north. So,
Correct.
Bill Rowinski, you also have large wetlands to the south. For looking the same direction, unless we're talking about the same thing, it drains into the pond that goes by Chamberlain Mill. And there's a huge marsh wetland south of that too, or west of that.
Yeah, are you speaking of the one that's on the other side of the road?
That's
There's a
one
big
of them.
swamp over there.
on the south.
Then that drains across the road again to that big, I forget the name of the pond that feeds the Chamberlain Mill site.
Keach Pond.
Keach, yeah, right.
And then there's another huge
And this-
wetland marsh southwest of that.
Yeah, and I think the Still River crosses a little bit to the south and west as well,
Correct.
probably through that same wetlands area.
Yeah.
And I think the same one, it also feeds into that earlier property we were talking about.
Well, it would
I don't know.
almost seem, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is much more problematic. I don't think having a machine come in and just try to remove the frag, this is going to be a lot more complicated. I mean, we can accept the application and have a look-see at it, but this one is a lot more complicated to have to deal with than the other one. And would need to have a better look at. I think in the ENS guidelines, there was a 2002 Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. There might have been some information about pond cleaning in there if you take a look in there.
Okay.
I'm not sure if there was or not. I know there's a discussion about dewatering from dredging operations.
Okay,
So I've made the same maps for this one that I made for the last one, and Tina, I will send them to you and Stuart. So at least you can have those,
Thank you.
okay?
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Marla.
yes, thank you, Marla.
Tina, you could forward them to Mr. Woodis if you want, if you have his email address.
Sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I
Thank you
didn't know
both.
if you had his email address or not.
Oh, yes, I have it.
Okay. So I move to accept application 09-20-24 for consideration at the next meeting.
I second the motion.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Stuart Peasley. Thank you, Stuart. To accept, receive for consideration, application 09-20-24, 1030 Route 198, Magmites removal in pond, for consideration at next month's meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you, Bruce.
Looks like we have a little work to do between now and next month's meeting.
Yep.
But thank you very much for your consideration and your help. Appreciate it.
Thanks. See ya.
All right.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you next time.
Yep.
Roman numeral number 7 on our agenda, Wetlands Agent Activity Report.
Good evening. I do have a complaint regarding some, remember that site across from Roseland Park? And we had the woman come back in. I haven't finished my investigation on it, but they had cleared the site. They had like a stairway going down to the lake. Well, it looks like the property next door to that. Their last name is Puffer. Looks like they cleared the slope out. And so I had a complaint to check that out. I have not gone to, I guess you can see it pretty well from Roseland Park. So that's on my list. Josh Pratt has been contacting me regularly about the work that he's doing, that he received a permit from me for landscaping work around the pond, and then he received a permit from the agency for the more extensive work for the dredging of that pond. And he's been working. The last message I had from him, and I'm sure you've driven by there, he's about 90%. All the digging is done except for a small part of the
Breaking up, Tina.
Oh, sorry. He's got about 90% of the work done, except for a small part on the edge closest to 171. So he still has some leveling off to do, some landscaping to do, but if anybody wants to go by, he's always open to having anyone, you know, stop in. And, you know, he's kind of kept me involved with the whole project, and he's stayed to the limits of his permit as far as I'm aware. But he's in kind of a tough spot where people go by and you're always getting calls about people that are concerned. So I had that. And then of course, Stuart and I had gone out to the Olszewski site, and I have a couple of letters that I just received today from a couple of people that live in that area.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you. You moved too far away.
I don't know if you want me to bring those letters in for your next packet, because I just received them today, or Do you want me to read them for the record now?
What were the letters?
It
Can't
was
hear you.
concerning that Rake Road, Olszewski situation, people that were concerned regarding the potential disruption of the wetlands to their adjoining properties. So I had a couple of letters. I'll include it in your next packet, being that you're gonna have an application from
Yeah.
6 Swanberg about the work that was completely done. And the work has been completely done, so with that cart path, as he refers to it. Other than that, it's been very busy with projects, construction, but I think I have one sign off. Let me just get my book. Hold on. So I do have an application for a road to, for home construction off of 171. A new home that's going in there that AJ Cheney is constructing. It's on the state road on 171. I thought initially that there was a wetlands crossing there, but upon further investigation, it's not. So Bruce Woodis has been involved in that, and he's going to give me something in writing so that I'll be able to sign off on that driveway. And then I have a pool that went in, a above ground pool on 270 Pole Bridge that was in the upland review. And a shed that went in at 228 West Quasit that was in the upland review. Very little disturbance. And that is about it for the last month.
Bill Rowinski. Tina, there was a complaint on Route 198. I think it might have been around number 725. Was there anything followed up with that? I don't
Could you
have,
refresh my recollection on that?
I think there was some clearing that was done, perhaps up to a wetland and perhaps in a wetland.
Oh, that was okay, that was last month. Maura, I think Maura Roby had called in on that. Honestly, I didn't do anything on it, sorry. I have
Okay,
several things on the list, so that'll be on for next month as well.
okay.
I don't know if you saw the field report. I just sent it out the other day. I just wanted to keep tabs on the, I don't know if we could call it rejuvenation, but possibly a regrowth of the vegetation at Crooked Trail Extension. And looks like it's making a slow comeback. I didn't go down to the water side to see the erosion, but there hasn't been much rain, so I didn't think it was anything critical. But I think it'll be a slow process, but that it looks like it's gonna, come back. The only thing at this time will just be the dead trees having to remove.
We have no response from Raymond Freegon. We had no response from that letter that went out. And I did follow up with an email, so maybe he's not working in the office, I don't know, but no response.
It's my understanding that DEP staff, Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, are not working in their offices. They're working from home for the most part.
Correct. Yep.
So I don't know if there's any further action then. I mean, the only other thing was there was a request, as I remember, for further testing and the push to have it on site. But even if any further testing was required, I would still advocate that it be done on the perimeter without having to invoke any subpoenas or anything. So that might be a consideration for the future. If they did want to do a timeliness in the testing, it's been a good 6 months since it was last tested, right? I don't know when they did the testing, but it was last winter at least. And I don't know what would determine the requirement for more testing.
No.
I have found in my dealings with DEP on a couple of occasions in Thompson that it's been very difficult to get responses. And the only time I've gotten responses is when I've CC'd the commissioner on my email. It doesn't make people happy at DEP for me to do that, but
Yeah.
sometimes I have no other choice.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this one rises. I don't know if this one rises to the level of having, you know, notifying the commissioner on it. What have the property owners who were affected by the copper was it copper sulfate that was applied? Yeah. Have they communicated anything with you of recent time? Have they had any testing done of their wells to see if their wells are getting contaminated? More
They
than
have not
what they had
notified me.
before?
No
Okay.
notification of that. I have not really heard from anyone over the last few weeks, so. I did have one thing to add on, were you done with that subject? Sorry, I don't mean to, Stuart.
Yeah, I'm done. Mm-hmm.
Okay, concerning the gas station, still before planning and zoning, not coming up till the October meeting. The engineer that came before you did reach out to our engineer concerning that anti-seep collar. And she did send out a notice that stated that in her opinion, the anti-seep collars are not desirable. And I know that was one of the conditions. However, I did speak with the applicant's engineer and they're not going to modify anything. They're not going to come back before you. They're just going to leave it as is, was the last thing. So I was sure.
They were the ones who were insistent that they needed to have a decision that month, that they couldn't wait to get the additional information to us and give us another month. And now they're saying they're not going to comply with a condition that was put on the permit.
No, they are going to comply.
I find that a little disconcerting.
No, they are going to comply with it. They are. That's why they're not going to come back and to ask for a modification.
Oh, that's what you meant. They're not going to come back to ask for modification.
They're leaving it alone.
Could you forward the correspondence you got from design professionals that commented on the anti-seep collar? Because you commented that it was undesirable, and I want to know how they base that being undesirable.
Not desirable. It says a filtered diaphragm will accomplish the desired effect. That's all it says, but I'll send it out to you.
Thank you.
It's not, yeah, but I just figured you'd want to know. I thought they were going to request a modification, but decided not to.
To be honest with you, I thought we were pushing the envelope because we didn't have all the answers to all the information, like the compaction requirements and stuff like that. And the only reason why that I made a motion to approve it conditionally was to get them their approval so they could move through planning and zoning. It wasn't to say that we didn't need that information or shouldn't have that information. Has NDDH?
No, that was my next thing. We still don't even have that. That's what's holding up the process. They're very delayed. But they submitted, I think, the plans a little late to NDDH. So anyways, it's on hold, so I'll just keep you updated on that.
Swadia, right? That was right. The Swadia application, right? Okay. All right, good. Okay, communications, bills. I haven't seen anything come through on my email, so I think it's been quiet on the bill approval front.
Yeah, Cindy's been handling that. She'll
Yep.
be submitting them differently in a more organized fashion with all the bills on one statement, I think.
Yep. I know that Gene Pillow went ahead with, they did a web presentation on the healthy watersheds plan for the Natchog. I don't know if any of you got a chance to listen in on it or not, but
I wanted Stuart Pisley here. I wanted to, but then when she sent in her email that it was 2.5 hours long, I haven't had the time. So
yeah, right.
Right, I did sign into that. Very helpful information. I do have one other item that I almost forgot about, that the Selectman's office did pass on. NECOG is asking each town to appoint a drought coordinator. This person would be responsible for the following: monitoring local conditions, communicating with state agencies, and relaying information to this office and fire departments. Please share this with your committees and departments and let me know if you have someone who is interested. And then there's some other information about Connecticut Drought Preparedness and Response Plan. Anybody we know that could be interested in that volunteer position?
What is it?
Drought Coordinator Volunteer. I guess they did reach out
Explain
to
a little
Gene.
more.
So I could just read the whole thing to you or send it to you. It's just, as you know, most of Connecticut has been experiencing prolonged dry and hot conditions over the past several weeks. State officials on the Interagency Drought Work Group have been meeting regularly and monitoring the situation closely. The group has begun making preparations as recommended by the Connecticut Drought Preparedness and Response Plan should conditions continue to worsen. One of the most important preparation activities listed in the state drought plan is the designation of a point of contact for every municipality. This point of contact, called a water coordinator or drought coordinator, would be responsible for monitoring local conditions on the ground and receiving information to and from state agencies. Ideally, this drought coordinator is someone who is in tune with local resources affected by drought, such as fire suppression ponds, agricultural, rivers and streams, golf courses, private domestic wells, and so forth. Because conditions can vary widely on a local or hyperlocal basis, depending on where storms hit or miss, it is deemed necessary to have one drought contact for every municipality in the state. The selected individual would ideally have a genuine interest in the water needs of the community and the local environment. He or she would view this as a volunteer opportunity to make a difference as opposed to a mandate added to an already exhaustive list of job responsibilities. He or she could be a resident on an inland wetlands or agricultural commission, a member of the volunteer fire department, a school teacher, farmer, or even resident, simply known to be good networker, observer of what is occurring in town. The designated person would transmit information to the state so that the state is aware of impacts as they develop. Likewise, the person would transmit information from the state or water utilities to the town government for dissemination to residents as necessary. The Interagency Drought Work Group, working through DEMHS Emergency Management Regions, is asking COGS for assistance with requesting municipal leaders to designate a contact. We will need a name, title, if applicable, email address, phone number. If an appropriate individual is not readily available, we are asking CEOs to designate their existing emergency management director. So putting that out there, if you know anyone that's interested or can think of anybody, I think Victor Peabody. Call Victor. He hasn't been to our meeting, so.
So we might look around to nominate some people, but then the selectmen will then appoint them? Are the selectmen asking us to do this?
Correct.
Yeah,
They want to
okay.
know if anyone on this agency is interested or if we know anyone.
Okay.
Tina, how about Conservation Commission?
Yes, it went out to all the boards and commissions.
Okay.
Marla Butt speaking. I think they should look for somebody in the fire department because they have a lot of dry hydrants in ponds and stuff. So I would expect that somebody there one of the volunteers there might be looking around at where their operations for getting water for a fire would be. If not them, then the emergency management guy or girl, whoever it is.
Guy.
I'm not interested.
Yeah, I can't. Oh,
Yeah, that's a good point, Marla.
Crystal has a message. Let's see what it is. She said, I emailed the 3 chiefs, also fire marshal, about 2 weeks ago. No reply. Thanks, Crystal.
Thank you. Yeah.
So that's all I have. Oh, and Ag and Conservation Committee. So she's on it.
All right. Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay. Citizens' comments or other topics? Do we have any citizens still on the call? No? Okay. All right. Next month's meeting will be Monday night, 7 o'clock, October 5th, right? And Stuart and Tina will get together and visit that site, and I'll try to look around for some Phragmites information, and we'll meet again then.
All
I'll
right.
entertain a
Before we go,
Go ahead.
Stuart, did you get the other set of photographs I sent? By email?
Did
Did
you
you
talk-
get the maps that I sent? You should have 2 emails, one for each site. With 2 maps for each site.
Okay. Yeah, I did. I got them. Thank you.
Okay. Tina, you got them?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll print them
you're
out.
welcome. I move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made by Marla Butts, seconded by Bill Rowinski to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Hi.
Aye. At 9:10 p.m. for Crystal's recording. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
See you next month.
hey, thank you.
Bye.